Hello world, welcome to a Champions Online guide. So the Grimoire. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of this archetype. It's kind of weird. Well, I think part of the problem is that it uses magic, and the magic set isn't exactly amazing in anything. It's just kind of there. Most of the time, magic is cherry-picked for some of the nice stuff it has, and then everything else is completely forgotten about. I mean, generally the Grim is definitely not like a tank or DPS, but it's not really a healer either. It's just kind of there with stuff that it does. So, powers. Eldritch Blast. You know what, once I got Skarn's Bane, I never ever use Eldritch Blast ever again because I just use Skarn's Bane if I'm not healing. So yeah, I mean, you can put points into it if you really like it, but I didn't bother. I did put Wizard's Discretion on Eldritch Bolts, which is the energy builder. Oh, and the energy builder is kind of weirdly bugged. The color it uses is from the wrong row, so it'll be like a weird color compared to everything else. It's like that on freeforms too. So Eldritch Bolts just has a weird problem, but considering I usually just have my energy builder on full blast, automatically hitting things anyway, I figure why not? I had the extra points. Since I wasn't going to use them in Eldritch Blast because bleh. And then Sigils. This archetype has like, you can have two different Sigils, which means if you want to use them both, you're going to have to put Mystic Transference on one of them. But generally I hate Sigils, so I don't use them hardly at all. They're not bad, I just don't like them. And trying to level when Sigils is your only AoE is not that great. Trying to level when you have Pillar of Paws as your other AoE kind of sucks too because it's just a knockback, which your team will hate you for it, so that's not terribly useful. I think it has an advantage for making enemies dizzy and disoriented, but again, I never use it because once I get Skarn's Bane, it's just better than Pillar of Paws in every way, and it doesn't knock things all over the place, which is amazing. Aura of Primal Majesty is a fabulous aura for pretty much like a general purpose thing. It just gives everybody a whole crap load of stats. Since the Grim is in hybrid, you'll get more stats than anybody else. You can, of course, choose to invest heavily into presence to make the other people buffing better. But because you have Aura of Primal Majesty, it really does not matter at all what you pick for your talents because everything is going to be, 80 plus easy by the time you're level 40. I already mentioned Pillar of Paws. I mean, I guess if things are attacking you and you want to knock them away, but you'd be better in solo mode, I would think. But again, chances are, once you get to level 30, you're never going to use it again because that's when you get Skarn's Bane, which is just that much better. And then the first choice you get is between Arcane Vitality and Val's Light. I always thought Val's Light was kind of weak sauce heal. It has a fairly long charge up. It's like, I think it's only a 10-foot AoE, which can be hit or miss. I mean, if you've played Champions for any length of time, you know people go all over the place and they are not going to be within 10 feet of each other unless they're all melee. So if you got like 4 other people on your team are all melee, then you'll probably be able to heal them just fine with Val's Light. Or you could also heal them just fine with Arcane Vitality, which is a maintain, so you essentially start healing right away as soon as you start using it. I don't know, I don't really like either of them all that much, but I would definitely pick Arcane Vitality over Val's Light any day. Eldritch Shield, I took the advantage for giggles. It's not exactly an amazing advantage. Basically, the advantage on Eldritch Shield changes based on which one of the magic auras you have. In the case of Primal Majesty, I think it just gives lightning damage when you're blocking and things hit your shield. It's not great, but yeah, sure, why not? And then the Circle of Arcane Power. You get the Circle of Arcane Power just in time to power Skarn's Bane, and even after the change and the cost lowering of Skarn's, it's still really expensive and you still want to use the Arcane. The main feature is Skarn's, which is probably much the best attack in this entire set. It might be probably the best attack in all of Magic, and you can use it for single target and AoE. They recently did some changes to Skarn, so now it applies a whole bunch of random debuffs, which is kind of cool. It doesn't strip passives anymore, which, well, I mean, it really doesn't matter because, like, every time they made a new boss, they just made him immune to the Skarn's Bane passive stripping anyway. so it's not like it was that useful except against Alcathoth. And then they made Alcathoth like super easy. I think they nerfed him a little bit too much, or her, or it, or whatever it is. The worm face person that everyone generally hates, and is now like 1,000 times easier. And then, the next choice you get is between Sigils of Arcane Runes and Sigils of Ebon Weakness. I took Ebon Weakness because I figured it'd be a lot nicer against bosses because they do damage and it gives them a damage debuff, which is lots and lots of fun. Sigils of Arcane Runes is just like a big old explosion. I mean, you can... I think Primal Storm is better for that, for damage, because they don't explode. They actually sit there and shock things, and you don't have to position them just right so they do actually explode. Hex of Suffering. They changed it. It's still a dot, but it now has a really nice magic debuff. I also took Runes of Lethargy for the rooting, because it's fun. But basically, you can just use Hex of Suffering and then go crazy with Skarn's Bane, because now it just does more damage, because I think the tooltip on mine had like 18% bonus, like basically magic debuff, weakness to magic, whatever. So that's actually a really nice combo with Skarn's, or any magic if you want to use it. So the Grim gets Intelligence primary super stat, and you're using Aura of Primal Majesty. These two things together are extremely awesome. Basically, you have all of your secondary stats, which you have a ton of, are buffed and do their innate stuff better. So, you know, more crit chance from dexterity, more health from constitution. And then you also have the other side, where your main super stats are also buffed for what they do. Like, Presence gives more bonus healing. What does Intelligence do? It's like a cooldown reduction and cost discount. Ego is, you know, range damage. And some other stuff. It's like hold resistance, I think. I don't know if that gives bonus for that, but... so yeah. Basically, the Intelligence tree plus Aura of Primal Majesty is like an amazing combo. For the second part, the Guardian tree, that's just a pretty standard. I mean, Guardian and Warden trees are really good for what they do. I just took the usual Fortified Gear, Ruthless, Find the Mark, Best Defense, which is, you know, offense, defense, crit chance, well, crit severity rather, and then more crit chance basically from Find the Mark. So yeah, that's good. And Overseer, I don't know, Overseer's just kind of meh to me. I just took everything on the first row. Basically, the only reason I took Administer is to, like, give my heals a little bit of a boost. Honor, I guess. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to go between healing and attacking, but sometimes it could be useful. It's basically whenever you heal, your next attack gains more damage. You conserve energy. I don't use single target attacks, so that's useless to me. And Enhanced Gear, I guess. But the gear I have on this character is pretty crappy, so that's not really going to give me much of any extra offense from my gear. And of course Intelligence Mastery, because Guardian and Overseer are completely worthless for this. I don't use blast powers. So yeah. Although I guess Overseer might be good. It increases the base damage of healing to targets below 20%. And because you have Aura of Primal Majesty, whatever talents you pick pretty much don't matter. I mean, you can just go with anything. You'll have a ton of every stat. So, I mean, if you just want to go with Intelligence, Ego, and Presence, you can just boost all those stats, since those are the ones that are going to be governing your damage and bonus healing. I actually had a hard time doing the pros and cons for the Grim, because it's not really particularly good or particularly bad at anything. It's just kind of there. The magic set in general is just kind of meh, I guess. But I guess I can do some pros and cons. So for pros, I have, of course, Aura of Primal Majesty, plus the Intelligence primary super stat, which is like a great combo. And Aura of Primal Majesty in general is pretty good for teams, especially like pickup groups, because you can essentially cover a whole lot of weaknesses on everybody at the same time. Like, people that have energy issues while leveling, well, they just get a whole bunch of stats now for energy. People that, like, you know, they're kind of weak for health, well, now they get some extra health. So it's kind of like a nice general purpose buffs like everything and everyone at the same time, so anything that's lacking is going to be kind of patched up a little bit. And then of course you have Skarns plus the new Hex of Suffering. Both of those have been recently made better, as far as I'm concerned. Skarn's applying all those debuffs, Hex of Suffering giving you that nice magic resistance debuff to make Skarns even more powerful, which is great. And they even supported the ability to actually use Skarns in the first place by giving you Circle of Arcane Power right before you get Skarns in the power choice order, which is great. And of course, it has a heal. So even if you're soloing and you're never going to be in a group, you can heal yourself, which is more than I can say for a lot of the archetypes that exist. Okay, cons. Well, having a heal is also a con, because if you're going into alerts, chances are you're the only person with a heal, which means you kind of have to heal or everyone else dies and then you die. So yeah, not exactly the best thing ever. And of course, if you're healing, you know what you're not doing? You're not gaining stacks of concentration, because you're healing. Unfortunately, in Champions Online, having a heal essentially makes you a healer by default. If you can heal somebody else, you are basically a healer, even if that's not your main role, just because there really are not enough people in alerts to heal other people. There really aren't a lot of healers in general, it seems like, although I have seen more lately, it's just not that common. The Grim seems more like a kind of utility support character, even though it has the heal for whatever, I guess. Because you have the Sigils of Ebon Weakness, which are a great debuff, especially against the boss. You have stuff like the Hex of Suffering, which gives you a root, or nailed to the ground, which is great. You have Skarn's Bane, which is applying all kinds of debuffs, which is also great. You have Pillar of Paws with an advantage that has a debuff. You have Eldritch Blast with an advantage, well actually it has an innate debuff, well, root. And then Eldritch Bolt also has the stun advantage. So, well, I guess it'd be a controller kind of thing, but I definitely see it as more of a non-healer support type thing, except that there isn't really a whole lot of support, definitely with this archetype, for it. So overall, the Grim isn't really a particularly fabulous archetype, but it's not a really bad one either. It doesn't excel at anything, but it also doesn't horribly fail at anything either. The only thing that I really don't like about the Grim is the Sigils. I hate those so much, which is why I just don't use them. But if you don't mind Sigils, well there you go, you get 2 of them, and you can have your choice of the second one. And of course you also get Skarn's Bane for lots of extra damage, and Hex of Suffering to do more better damage, and a heal so you don't die, and so your teammates don't die. And a circle so you don't have to rely on your energy builder ever. Unless you just want to, have it auto-fire for the random stun chance. Which is also good too.